friends, welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jen. I do cooking, canning, and food preservation videos every Tuesday, and I do vlogs on Friday. If you're into that sort of content, I hope you'll consider subscribing and sticking around. Today I'm going to be taking some of my kefir, my milk kefir that I've been making and stockpiling in the refrigerator. This is the one I'm currently working on. My kefir grains are named Kefir Sutherland. Sorry, couldn't help myself. But I'm going to use up my surplus kefir to make kefir pancakes. Now, I understand that heating the pancakes and everything does kind of take away some of the beneficial bacteria, but it is still easier to digest, in my personal opinion, as someone who struggles with milk. So I'm using this as a stand-in for buttermilk. Now, I am doubling this batch, so I'm going to start with 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And to that, I'm going to add 3 teaspoons of baking powder, and I'm also going to add 2 teaspoons of baking soda. And these are the leavening agents that are going to make these pancakes super fluffy. Now, this recipe will make about 24 normal size pancakes. And you might be saying, well, I don't need 24 normal size pancakes. Well, I say double the recipe and make it this way anyway. Make the pancakes, let them cool completely, put them into a freezer bag and freeze them. Then when you need a quick breakfast or a quick breakfast for dinner, you just pull them out, lay a damp paper towel over them, and microwave them. And you didn't even have to cook on a day that you were busy. So go ahead and make the big batch of pancakes. Your future self will thank you. Once I get all the dry ingredients in, I'm going to go ahead and add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And then I'm going to just whisk all of my dry ingredients together just to make sure that I don't have any lumps or clumps of baking soda or baking powder. Make sure everything's mixed in all together thoroughly. Now, if you prefer, you can sift all of these ingredients into the bowl. I don't own a sifter, and so when I sift things, I have to use a small strainer, and it inevitably just makes a giant mess. So for me, just whisking it together is easier, but do what works for you in your kitchen. Once I get all my dry ingredients mixed together really well, I'm going to add 4 large eggs. Now I'm not going to go ahead and mix these eggs until I get all of the wet ingredients added to the bowl. You could scramble these in another bowl and put them in just to make it easier for you to mix and make sure that you get all the egg whites incorporated later if you like, but I wasn't trying to dirty up extra dishes, so I just added it all into the one bowl. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my kefir. I'm going to be using 4 cups of milk kefir. Now this milk kefir has been sitting in the refrigerator for a few days, so it's mellowed out. It's really nice and yogurty. It's super thick and it is delicious. I could drink this for breakfast, but I was hanging on to this just for these pancakes. My children love pancakes and I don't make them very often. You'll see why here in just a few minutes, but I thought that this would be a good way to make pancakes that I could also enjoy without it just absolutely messing up my stomach. Now, if you don't do your own milk kefir at home, I think that you could totally use store-bought kefir for this. In fact, flavored store-bought kefir would probably be really yummy. Um, I had a request from my kids to do blueberry pancakes next time I do this. So, if you buy a milk kefir from the grocery store that has already had the fruit flavor added into it, that would probably make some pretty delicious pancakes. So just, do whatever works for you. If you don't make your kefir at home, just buy it. That's fine. If you're interested in starting a kefir culture, you can find the grains online pretty cheaply. I was lucky enough to have someone gift me these, so I have been taking very good care of them. Once you get your kefir in, you're supposed to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I didn't realize I was running as low as I was, so I just put in what I had left. And then I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of maple syrup. Now, I'd say this is to taste. I felt like it could have used a little bit more sweetness, but it did add a really nice flavor, so it wasn't a total loss. But just add maple syrup to suit your own personal tastes. And yes, I'm going to shake every drop of this maple syrup out of this measuring spoon I possibly can because my goodness, have you seen the price of maple syrup lately? Whew! You can buy the fake stuff that just tastes like maple syrup, but if you want real maple syrup, you're going to pay for it. So once I get it all in there, I'm just going to give it a really good mix. Now, I don't want to over mix this. Think about this kind of like cornbread batter, where you don't want to mix it until it's completely smooth. This is going to start to bubble fairly quickly once that kefir gets mixed in with the baking soda and the baking powder. So I'm just going to start off with my whisk to make sure that the eggs are incorporated, and then I'm going to switch to my silicone spatula and just mix it around enough that I can make sure that all of the flour is up off of the bottom of the bowl and mixed in with the wet ingredients. But you'll see there are still lumps in here. There won't be lumps once you cook it. I wanted to show you how this bubbles. It's really wild. I'll get a better grip on this bowl so I can get it closer to the camera, but you can actually see it actively bubbling. It reminds me of when you're proofing yeast, or if you're making a sourdough and your sourdough is really super active and you can just watch the bubbles come to the surface. It's so cool. I just had to share that. So yeah, once I get all of the flour off the edges of the bowl, I'm gonna go move on to making these pancakes. Now I did pour this into a pitcher so it would be easier to use. Spoiler alert here, I'm using a pan that is slightly warped. As I pour my pancake batter in, you'll see it starts to kind of run to the edges. That's because the center of the pan is raised. This is a great pan for making like, rice, one pan rice dishes or stews or soups, but not so much for pancakes. And you're going to see here that I give up the battle with this pan and I end up switching. But I'm going to pour these out to kind of like a medium-sized pancake. My family likes them bigger. You could get a whole lot more pancakes out of this if you did like silver dollar pancakes, but I'm feeding 6 adults and I need to get them full quicker, so we do bigger pancakes. And the rule of thumb when you're making pancakes is the first batch is always ugly. They never turn out perfectly. So you'll see here, they're kind of brown on one side and still very light on the other. They're all messed up. I busted them up. It's really hard to turn pancakes in a high-sided pan. So if you have a griddle, use your griddle. If you have a comal like you use to make tortillas, use that, because I got really frustrated with this after these 4 pancakes were done and I absolutely just swapped out my pans. But even though these were ugly, they still got eaten. My family did not care what they looked like. They ate them up and they were happy to have them. But it's just kind of like it's an ego thing. You want your pancakes to be beautiful. And you'll see after I swap this pan out, the farther along into this making pancakes I go, the more perfect they actually start to turn out. It's really funny. So out with this pan, in with a flat pan. Now it's not as big. I can only do about 3 at a time, but that's fine. It just take a little longer. And I'm trying to figure out how to get this pan to sit evenly on my burner. My stove is not the best stove in the world, and some of the burners are kind of crooked. So we're gonna go round 2 now with the new pan. And I'm gonna go ahead and get these pancakes poured out about the same size that that first batch was. And I'm gonna just let them sit. I'm not going to fiddle with them. I'm not going to check on them. And the trick to good pancakes is you wait until the surface of the pancake sort of changes to like from shiny to matte and you have bubbles all the way around the edges. Now, if you were going to do blueberry pancakes, at this point, I would suggest putting some blueberries into that batter on the top before you flip it. You can mix your blueberries in, but it will make purple pancakes. So if you just want, pretty little pancakes with blueberries spotted throughout them, put them in at this point individually. Trust me, it takes a little longer, but it makes such a pretty pancake. And you can see here that as I went along, they started to get better and better. So I'm going to go ahead and make a plate for my daughter. She asked for 3 pancakes, and I'm going to, while they're still steaming hot, get a generous amount of butter onto these. Are you a butter on the pancakes kind of person? Do you just put a pat of butter on the top? Or are you like an all-in, I want butter on every level of my pancake pile? She likes a little extra butter, so I stuck another pat in between. I'm going to give her some sausage and some bacon. And then she requested maple syrup, and I'm gonna drizzle that right on top. She really enjoyed this. In fact, the whole family did. I mean, it had probably been months since we had pancake night last time. So if you have a surplus of milk kefir or just an aversion to milk like I do, I highly recommend that you try this recipe. I'm going to leave a link down below to where I originally found this kefir pancake recipe. And that way you can get the written recipe and also have the ability to adjust the serving size when you print it out. Thanks for watching, friends. Until next time, happy cooking.